then allow me to bring in Jasmine. Jasmine, Nicholas talked about, migrating and putting these new measures of success for, digital. But what are the biggest challenges that you have seen, as someone who's helped so many companies in their customer experience journeys and accelerating their journeys to digital? What are the biggest challenges you have seen? Is it technology? Is it people? Is it processes? How do you see this journey to digital, and what are the biggest challenges that companies are facing there? Jasmine?
Sure. So Nicholas spoke about KPIs, right? And these KPIs has evolved over time as we progress. And ultimately, they're still intended for the same people, the same group of people, that is our human workforce, which is exactly that. That's why we bring us to the next topic. And you mentioned about all these different challenges that we got to embark on. And this is actually very close to our heart. And what I'd like to touch on the human element, because people connect with people and people buy from people. So when we embark on any automation and digital initiative, these are some of the lessons that we learn from the field. Let me just bring up one of the slides. Can you see? Okay.
Yeah.
So we talk about the first point, right? How do we address digital anxiety? So I think first thing first, we have to involve the people early. Very often, automation or digital initiative starts off as an IT project. Nothing wrong with that, right? But if you're able to involve the business stakeholders early, especially those who are really talking to the customers, and we are talking about operation people, customer service agent, because they are already on the front line resolving all these issues. So it's a good way to have them on board early so that they can contribute ideas and help develop all this effective solution. Actually, another one very interesting way I think that we should do, and we undermine this, that is to do polling. So we ask our people what's working and what's not. Sometimes we undermine this step, but it is the voice of the people that can be heard. And then when you document it, it can be a very powerful source of information when you embark on all this initiative, because you have the fundamentals there, you have the foundation on how people they see when they try to adapt to all these new changes. Number two, take away the fear factor. Show the value of automation and digital, for example, in pushing all these mundane services or inquiries to bots, because you just don't have enough to go around. So this is to make sure that you have the channel to serve the critical mass, right? We don't implement project and then expect people to adapt. We have to educate them on how the automation works and how you make the life easier. Take away some of this routine, boring aspect of the work, and essentially what you are doing here is you're upgrading and you are bridging the digital gap. So we train them to work with the bots. This will take away some of this fear of technology, right? So that the performance and the job satisfaction can go up and not come down. The third point, we talk about value and use, creativity and empathy. So when we say train people to work with the machines so that they can be more effective, and then they can meet also their performance target or KPIs, Nicholas has mentioned earlier, there are also characteristics, right, that today the machine or the bots don't have yet. And we have to acknowledge that, right? And only the human can teach them. So especially, again, the human that we deal with our customer on a daily basis, day in, day out, because they are the one on the ground. Actually, they do know best. One of the last point, leverage on your existing asset. This one, I will spend a little bit more time explaining this particular point, because sometimes we've forgotten that we do have a lot of data and information at our own backyard. But the question is, are we utilizing them properly, right? When we rely on all this empirical data we already have, and I'm talking about things that are already default, like voice recording. Every organization today, whether you run a contact center or whether you're in a financial institution, we do have a lot of recordings, right? And we record them for different purposes, whether it's for compliance or whether it's out of obligations. And once you record, it gets stored for many years, right? 3, 5, 7, and even 100 years for some of the financial institutions, because they have a term life policy that they need to keep the records, because you buy a term policy that lasts you till your grave, right? So in the early days, earlier on when technology wasn't that so sophisticated, we actually have to randomly listen to all this voice recording. But you just can't simply go through every one of them because it's humanly impossible. Even if you hire an army of people, you can't, because you're competing with time, right? But however, as we mature and the technology is able to accommodate all these requirements, today we also lower down the barrier of cost so that this is available for us to extract the richness sitting in a gold mine that is now permissible to every one of us to get it out. So I think this is one way to jumpstart your wealth of library, especially for a chatbot or a virtual agent sort of initiative, because you'll be able to learn firsthand on today how you and your customer are interacting on a day-to-day basis. And this will essentially also help sort of design a effective conversational flow. I think we have gone through many different formats, different rounds, that every time when we go into a digital interface, we always say the bot don't understand what I'm saying, or I don't get served on the particular channel that I first interacted on. And once you have that and the experience is not on par, the customer will then abandon that channel, and then you start having a volume surge on your call center, because it is not necessary that sometimes just because you open up another channel of the volume will come down. Sometimes on the contrary, it's actually the opposite. Yeah. So these are
Excellent.
my 4 points.
Thank you, Jasmine.